Welcome, my friends. I am so happy to have you here today on Woven English. Today, we are going to learn English through the life of Jack Ma. He became one of the most famous business leaders in Asia. He helped build Alibaba, a company that changed the way millions of people buy, sell, and do business online. But this is not only a story about money. It is not only a story about technology. And it is not only a story about a man who became rich. It is a story about rejection. It is a story about being told no many times, but still looking for another door. It is a story about a teacher who did not know how to write computer code, yet saw a future that many technology experts could not see. And perhaps, most importantly, it is a story about learning. Jack Ma learned English from strangers. He learned patience from failure. He learned leadership from difficult years. And he learned that a person does not need to be the strongest person in the room to create something powerful. As you listen, do not worry if you miss a word. Stay calm, follow the meaning, let the story carry you forward. And before we begin, tell us in the comments, where are you listening from and what time is it there? Now, let us travel back to Hangzhou, China, in the year 1964. Jack Ma was born on September 10, 1964. His Chinese name was Ma Yun. Hangzhou was a beautiful city, known for West Lake, old streets, temples, and green hills. But when Ma Yun was a child, China was very different from the country the world knows today. His family did not have great wealth. He was not born into a powerful business family. He did not grow up surrounded by computers, international schools, or famous mentors. He was a thin boy with a strong personality. He was curious, energetic, and sometimes stubborn. He was not known as a brilliant student. Mathematics was especially difficult for him. In the school system around him, exam results were extremely important. A low score could make a young person feel that the future was already closing. But Ma Yun had a special interest that would slowly change his life. He wanted to learn English. At that time, it was not easy for an ordinary child in China to speak with people from other countries. Foreign visitors were still unusual. There was no YouTube, there were no language apps, there were no online teachers waiting on a screen. So, Ma Yun created his own classroom. When foreign tourists began visiting Hangzhou, he rode his bicycle to places where he could meet them. He offered to show visitors around the city. He did not do it because he wanted money. He did it because he wanted conversation. He listened to their pronunciation. He copied their words. He asked questions. He made mistakes. Then he tried again. For years, these tourists became his teachers. Imagine the scene. Early in the morning, while many children were still sleeping, a young boy was riding through the streets of Hangzhou. The air was cool. His bicycle was simple. His English was imperfect. But he kept moving toward the hotels and tourist areas because he knew that every conversation could teach him something. This habit gave him more than language. English opened a window. Through foreign visitors, he heard about different customs, cities, ideas, and ways of thinking. He began to understand that the world was much larger than the lessons inside his school books. One Australian family became especially important in his life. He developed a friendship with them, and the relationship lasted for years. A foreign friend gave him the English name Jack because Ma Yun was difficult for some English speakers to pronounce. The name stayed, but the deeper gift was not the name. The deeper gift was perspective. Jack began to see that the world could look very different depending on where a person stood. This idea later became important in his business life. When other people saw only local problems, Jack often tried to see a larger picture. Still, learning English did not solve every problem. Jack struggled with important exams. He later said that he failed key school examinations more than once. He took China's college entrance exam several times before he finally entered Hangzhou Teachers Institute, which later became part of Hangzhou Normal University. For many young people, repeated failure creates shame. You watch friends move forward. You hear relatives ask questions. You begin to wonder whether everyone else is right about you. Maybe you are not talented enough. Maybe you are too late. Maybe your dream belongs to someone else. But Jack continued. He did not become the best student in every subject. He simply kept moving until one door opened. At university, he studied English. He also took part in student activities and learned how to speak in front of groups. His ability to communicate became one of his greatest strengths. In 1988, he graduated and became an English teacher. This may surprise some people. Before Jack Ma became known for Alibaba, he stood in a classroom. He taught students. He explained words. He tried to make difficult ideas feel simple. He did not earn a large salary. He did not have a famous title. But he loved teaching, and his students often remembered his energy. The classroom taught him lessons that business school could not. A teacher must understand the audience. A teacher must keep attention. A teacher must make people believe that a difficult goal is possible years later. When Jack spoke to employees, investors, or young entrepreneurs, he often sounded less like a traditional executive and more like a teacher telling a story. After graduation, Jack looked for other opportunities. He has often described how many employers rejected him. One famous story says that when a group applied for jobs at a KFC restaurant, nearly everyone was accepted except him. He also said that he applied to Harvard Business School many times and was rejected each time. Some details from motivational speeches are difficult to confirm completely, but the larger pattern is clear. Jack faced many closed doors, And he made rejection a central part of the story he told about his life. That choice matters. He could have hidden his failures. Instead, he used them. He turned rejection into a language that ordinary people understood. Many people have never founded a company, but almost everyone knows what it feels like to be unwanted. A school says no. A company says no. A customer says no. A person you love says no. The danger is not the word no. The danger is allowing one no to become your identity. Jack refused to do that. In the mid-1990s, another door opened. Jack traveled to the United States and saw the internet. Today, the internet is part of daily life. We use it for work, music, shopping, maps, banking, and communication. But in 1995, it still felt mysterious to many people, especially in places where internet access was limited. Jack did not know computer programming. He was not an engineer. He was not a technology expert. But he understood people, language, and business. According to the story he often told, he searched online for information about beer. He found results from several countries, but very little from China. Then he searched for China, and again found very little useful information. This absence excited him. Most people look at an empty space and see nothing. An entrepreneur looks at an empty space and asks, "What should be here?" Jack saw that Chinese companies were almost invisible online. He believed the internet could connect small businesses in China with customers around the world. He returned home with a new idea. His first major internet project was called China Pages. The company helped Chinese businesses create simple websites and appear online. The idea was early, too early perhaps. Many business owners did not understand why they needed a website. Internet connections were slow. Trust was low. Rules and partnerships were complicated. Jack had vision, but vision alone could not remove every obstacle. China Pages did not become the great success he hoped for. This was an important failure. It taught him that seeing the future is not enough. You must also understand timing, control, teamwork, and the needs of the market. For a period, Jack worked on an internet project connected to the Chinese government. The job gave him more experience, but he still wanted to build something of his own. Then came the meeting that became part of Alibaba history. In 1999, Jack gathered a group of people in his apartment in Hangzhou. There were 18 founders in total. They were not sitting inside a shining office tower. They did not have a famous global brand. They had a small room, limited money, and a difficult idea. Jack spoke about creating an online marketplace that would help small Chinese businesses reach buyers around the world. The company would be called Alibaba. Why that name? Jack wanted a word that people in many countries could recognize and pronounce. Alibaba was connected to the famous story of a hidden treasure and the phrase "open sesame." The name suggested that a door could open. That meaning matched Jack's dream. He wanted the internet to open a door for small businesses. At the time, large companies had money, contacts, and international reach. Small factories and family businesses often did not. Jack believed technology could make the distance between them smaller. Alibaba began as a business-to-business marketplace. A factory could list products. A buyer in another country could discover them. The website itself did not need to own every product. It created connections. This model sounds normal today. In 1999, it was a bold idea. The early team worked long hours. Money was limited. The future was uncertain. Jack was not the person writing the code. So, what did he contribute? He gave direction. He explained the mission again and again. He reminded the team that they were not simply building a website. They were trying to make business easier for people who had been ignored by the old system. This is one of the most useful lessons from Jack Ma's life. You do not always need to be the person with the deepest technical skill, but you must understand your role. Jack's role was to see opportunity, communicate it clearly, attract people, and keep them moving when fear entered the room. Alibaba soon attracted important investment. Goldman Sachs and other investors provided early funding. SoftBank, led by Masayoshi Son, also invested. A popular story says that Son decided very quickly because he believed in Jack's energy and vision. Whatever the exact length of the meeting, the investment gave Alibaba valuable money and confidence. But investment was not victory. The internet market was dangerous. Many companies were growing too fast. During the dot-com crash, technology businesses around the world failed. Alibaba also faced pressure. Jack had to control spending and help the company survive. Survival came before glory. Then, in the early 2000s, a much larger battle began. eBay was already a global giant. It entered China and seemed to have every advantage. It had experience. It had money. It had a strong international name. Alibaba was still young. Many people believed eBay would control online shopping in China. But Jack understood something important. A global system does not always fit local habits. In 2003, Alibaba launched Taobao, a shopping platform designed for Chinese consumers. The competition became intense. eBay charged sellers fees. Taobao allowed sellers to use the platform without listing fees during its early growth period. Taobao also developed features that matched the behavior of Chinese users, including direct communication between buyers and sellers. That direct contact mattered. Many buyers did not yet trust online shopping. They wanted to ask questions. They wanted to speak with sellers. They wanted the experience to feel personal. Taobao felt local. Jack described the competition with a memorable image. eBay was like a shark in the ocean, while Alibaba was like a crocodile in the Yangtze River. If the crocodile fought in the ocean, it would lose. But in the river, it understood the environment. This was not simply a funny sentence. It was strategy. Do not fight your competitor only where your competitor is strongest. Understand your own ground. Know the people you serve better than anyone else. Build for their real behavior, not for a theory inside a meeting room. Taobao grew quickly. eBay later closed its main China site, and Alibaba became the stronger force in the local market. But another problem remained: trust. How could a buyer send money to a seller they had never met? To answer this problem, Alibaba developed Alipay. The service helped hold payment until the buyer received the product. This reduced fear and made online transactions safer for ordinary users. Again, Jack was not solving only a technology problem. He was solving a human feeling. The feeling was doubt. People do not use a new system because it is impressive. They use it when they believe it will protect them, help them, or make life easier. Alibaba continued to grow. It expanded into more areas of e-commerce. It developed cloud computing services. It connected Chinese businesses with international markets. Its platforms became part of everyday economic life for millions of people. Jack also created a company culture that was unusual. He used stories, music, performances, and dramatic speeches to build energy. At company celebrations, he sometimes appeared in costumes or sang on stage. To some people, this behavior looked strange for a business leader. But Jack understood emotion. He knew that employees do not remember every chart. They remember moments. They remember whether a leader gave them courage. They remember whether their work felt connected to a larger purpose. However, strong culture can also create pressure. Alibaba became a huge organization, and success brought difficult questions about competition, work expectations, power, and responsibility. No business story is completely clean. Great growth creates great influence, and influence creates consequences. In September 2014, Alibaba entered the New York Stock Exchange. Its public offering raised about $25 billion after additional shares were sold, making it the world's largest initial public offering at that time. The former English teacher from Hangzhou was now standing at the center of global finance. Think about that distance. From bicycle conversations with tourists, to a classroom, to rejected job applications, to a small apartment with a group of founders, to Wall Street. The world called it success. But success changes the questions. At the beginning, the question is, can we survive? Later, the question becomes, what will we do with power? Jack became one of China's best-known business figures. He met world leaders. He spoke at universities and global events. Young entrepreneurs studied his speeches. His face became closely connected with the idea of modern Chinese business. Yet he continued to speak proudly about being a teacher. Education remained important to him. In 2014, he founded the Jack Ma Foundation. Its work has included education, entrepreneurship, women's leadership, medical support, and environmental protection. He supported rural teachers and schools. He encouraged entrepreneurship in Africa. During the global health crisis, foundations connected with him helped send medical supplies to many countries. These projects showed another side of his ambition. Building a company can change markets. Supporting teachers can change generations. In 2019, Jack stepped down as executive chairman of Alibaba. The date was September 10, his birthday and Teacher's Day in China. His farewell was not quiet. Alibaba employees gathered for a large celebration. Jack performed on stage and spoke about the future. He said he wanted to spend more time on education and philanthropy. Leaving can be difficult for a founder. A company begins as your dream. Then thousands of people join it. It grows larger than you. Your name becomes connected to it. Stepping away may feel like losing part of yourself. But a company that cannot continue without one person is not yet a strong institution. Jack wanted Alibaba to keep moving after him. Then, in 2020, his public story changed sharply. In a speech in Shanghai, Jack criticized parts of the financial regulatory system. Soon afterward, the planned public offering of Ant Group was suspended. Chinese authorities increased regulatory pressure on Ant and Alibaba. For months, Jack appeared much less often in public. Around the world, people asked where he was. Rumors grew quickly. Some reports used dramatic language, but many claims could not be confirmed. Later, Jack appeared again. He remained quieter than before and spent long periods outside the public spotlight. He focused more attention on education, agriculture, research, and philanthropy. This period is important because it reminds us that success does not remove risk. A person can become powerful and still face forces larger than himself. A company can dominate a market and still be changed by regulation. A public voice can become quiet. Jack's story after 2020 is more complex than the simple story of a poor boy becoming a billionaire. It is a story about the limits of influence, the relationship between business and government, and the cost of speaking in a sensitive environment. In February 2025, Jack appeared with other major Chinese business leaders at a meeting with President Xi Jinping. The event was widely seen as a sign that he was again becoming more visible in China's business world. But his role was different from the one he held during Alibaba's early years. He was no happy you are here. He was no longer the young founder trying to convince friends in an apartment. He was no longer the executive chairman leading a public company. He had become a symbol. To some people, he represented courage and entrepreneurship. To others, he represented the enormous power of technology companies. To still others, he represented the complicated line between private ambition and public authority. A complete story must hold all these ideas together. Jack Ma is inspiring, but he is not a perfect hero. Alibaba created opportunity for many small businesses, but the growth of large online platforms also created new forms of pressure and competition. Jack spoke beautifully about young people, customers, and dreams, but some of his public comments about long working hours caused criticism. He taught people not to fear failure. Yet his own success also brought problems that motivational speeches could not easily solve. This does not make his life less valuable to study. It makes the lesson more real. So what can we learn from Jack Ma? The first lesson is that weakness in one area does not define your whole future. Jack was not a top mathematics student. He was not a programmer. He did not fit the usual picture of a technology founder. But he could communicate. He could understand people. He could recognize a problem. He could make others believe in a mission. Your greatest strength may not be the skill that your school values most. The second lesson is that language can change a life. English did more than help Jack speak with foreigners. It gave him access to different ideas. It trained him to listen. It helped him imagine a world beyond his immediate environment. Every new language gives you another window. That is why your English practice today matters. A small listening habit may seem unimportant, but repeated for months and years, it can change the people you meet, the work you do, and the future you can imagine. The third lesson is that rejection is information, not identity. A rejection may tell you that your method needs to change. It may tell you that the timing is wrong. It may tell you that one door is closed. But it does not tell you the final value of your life. Jack was rejected many times. Some stories became larger through repetition, but his response is still worth remembering. He kept learning. He kept moving. He did not wait for every person to approve of him. The fourth lesson is to serve real people. Alibaba defeated stronger competitors in China because it understood local users. Taobao did not simply copy a foreign platform. It listened to sellers and buyers. Alipay answered a trust problem. The best ideas often begin with a simple question: what is making life difficult for people? The fifth lesson is that leadership is not only about being the smartest person. Jack surrounded himself with people who knew more about technology, finance, and operations than he did. A leader does not need to perform every task. A leader must create direction, choose people carefully, communicate clearly, and accept responsibility. The final lesson is more difficult. Success is not the end of the story. Money does not remove uncertainty. Fame does not protect a person from criticism. Power does not give complete freedom. Every achievement creates a new responsibility. Jack Ma began by trying to open doors for small businesses. Later, he had to face questions about what happens when the door becomes a giant gate controlled by a powerful company. That is the mature lesson. Dream big, but also ask what your dream may become. Build courage, but keep humility. Move quickly, but listen carefully. Believe in yourself, but do not believe that you are always right. My friends, perhaps you are listening today after a failure. Maybe you did not pass an exam. Maybe a company rejected your application. Maybe your English feels slow. Maybe someone laughed at your idea. Do not pretend that rejection does not hurt. It does. But pain is not proof that you should stop. You may need a new plan. You may need more practice. You may need to begin with a smaller step. Jack Ma did not move directly from failure to victory. Between those 2 points were years of teaching, learning, experimenting, losing, rebuilding, persuading, and waiting. That is how most real change happens. Slowly, then suddenly, one conversation at a time, one mistake at a time, one door at a time. If this story touched you, I would love to hear from you. Which part of Jack Ma's journey stayed with you the most? Was it the boy riding his bicycle to practice English? The teacher starting a company in a small apartment? Or the founder learning that even great success has limits? Write your answer in the comments. And if you enjoy learning English through meaningful stories, please like this video and subscribe to Woven English. Keep listening, keep learning, keep walking toward the next door. Thank you for spending this time with me, my friends. Until we meet again, take care, believe in steady progress, and remember that one rejection can close a path. But it does not have the power to close your future.